Welcome to episode 18 on how to create a Terminator effect. And this time we're going to jump into a software called Clarisse. And this is used to create scenes like this, for example, this Star Wars scene by Industrial Light and Magic. So, the software we're going to use is called Clarisse, but unfortunately this is not being sold anymore. So you will have to use a different software like Maya and Arnold, or whatever software you are comfortable with. But anyways, this is nice to see how this software works. And this is where we left off last time with our patch. And what we are going to do this time is to bake the ambient occlusion using Clarisse. So let me start the screen recording. Okay, so let's jump into Clarisse. And here we have the viewport, the product browser, the images, and the properties and layers. So it's very similar to other softwares. The first thing we want to do is to add our undistorted plate as a background. So I will take the image we have here already, go to the layers and create a new layer. Click this icon down here and say new file layer. And here I will rename this to plate. And select our file. So the Terminator project. So here's the original plate and here is the undistorted plate. So I'm going to select the undistorted and open. And now if we look at this image, we're going to the image view. Then we can see the first frame in the plate. And to load in all the frames, we have to change the frame number in the file name here to $3F, which means the frame number padded to 3 digits. If we go to different frames, we can see that we have our frames here in the background. Okay, so now we have our image sequence, and next we are going to need the camera that matches this image sequence. So I'm going to take the tracker camera. So here in Nuke, that was our first camera 1. And I will press tab and write geo. And if we try to connect this to the camera, we see that it doesn't work. So we're going to need here a scene. So press tab, type scene, and then we can connect our right geo to the scene and the scene to the camera. And now double click on right geo and select the file, and I will call this camera.abc for Alembic. And let's use Ogawa and execute. And the frame range from the viewer, so 57 to 153, and OK. So now it is exporting the camera. Now we can import this in Clarisse. So let's go to Clarisse. Okay, if I look in our scene, we can see that we have a camera here, but we are going to load the new camera. So let's go to File, Reference, File, and here the camera alembic that we just exported, and open. So now if I go here to the 3D view, and if I play back, we can see that the camera is animated. So let's stop this and go to the first frame. So now we have the image background and we have our camera. And next we are going to need our patch that we created last time. So I'm going to go to File and Import Geometry. And here we select our patch version 2 from last time and open. And we don't care about the materials, so say no. Okay, let's hide the plate. And if we go to the layer called background, that is our 3D layer. So I'm going to call this F2 to rename and call this patch. And then if we look at the active camera, then we can select here the new imported camera 1. And now we have our patch. And then if I look at the plate as well, then we can't see it anymore because we have to reorder the layers. So I will drag the patch on top. Okay, so this is now pitch black. So we need to add here our ambient occlusion material. I'm going to go to the scene and I'm going to right click and say a new emitter. And then I will drag this onto the patch. So now we have just pure white, and we want to change now the shader so that is the ambient occlusion. So let's double click on the emitter. And here we have our shader graph. And what we need here is the ambient occlusion. Let's type occlusion, so we have texture occlusion, and connect this to the emission color. Okay, so here we have the ambient occlusion. And let's do a test composite. So I'm going to go to the patch layer and here change the blending mode to multiply. And then we can get an idea of how this will look inside of Nuke when we start using this. Okay, I think this is good for this episode. And in the next episode, we will move this into Nuke and do some compositing. So see you again in episode 19. And don't forget to like and subscribe.